Alright, here is a update on the Cyma CM.106. This is my personal build here. In the last video reviewing this, I talked a lot about the problems with the selector switch on this gun, and I replaced the lower receiver through warranty, and about 2 months later, the same thing happened again. So if you've seen my previous video, I've shown you that the detents in the lower receiver, the little like indexing holes for the selector switch on the lower receiver, gets scored by the little ball detent, and it wears a groove into it, and these eventually stop indexing. So when you're playing on a field and you're only able to use semi-auto, it's hard to keep it in semi-auto. Sometimes it drifts into safe, sometimes it drifts into full auto, so that's a huge problem. And that was the issue with the previous receiver. It lasted about 2 months. I had it warranted. They sent me a new receiver. It had the selector switch, the switch itself already installed and everything, so I didn't touch any of that. I just dropped in all the internals and everything into the new lower receiver. And basically the same issue is here 2 months later. So I contacted Taiwan Gun again about this, and now they're telling me that the receiver wearing away like that is just normal wear and tear, so they won't be warranting it the second time. Because of that, I am gonna say I cannot recommend the CM.106. I think I like just about everything about the gun except for this selector switch issue, and I think there's one other issue too about this gun, and everything stems from the fact that it's using this 4590 selector switch. If it was using a standard M4 style 90 degree and 180 position selector switch, then these problems would not exist, basically. So the other problem beyond this is that the selector plate inside the gun is totally proprietary, and there's no replacements for that selector plate. You cannot use any other selector plate because of this, and that introduces another problem with compatibility with ETUs or DTUs or MOSFETs, whatever you want to call it. So because of that selector plate, this thing is actually not compatible with I got one of these mechanical micro switch MOSFETs from T238. I tried to drop it in here, but because of that weird selector plate, it's actually not compatible. Because this MOSFET has a tiny like physical micro switch, the plate is shaped in a different way where it doesn't work with this one. And so I ended up putting in a Perun hybrid V2 MOSFET in here, and that works fine. That works great. But just another thing to keep in mind if you were looking at this gun, because of the proprietary selector plate, some MOSFETs will not work. Also to note, my mechanical safety for this thing has once again stopped working. It fixed itself for a brief amount of time when I dropped in a new selector plate. I don't know why that is, because the selector plate's made of metal and it's really tough, and I was looking at the old one and the new one and they both look the same, so I'm not sure why. I'm actually thinking that it's the little internal safety lever, like trigger blocking part. I forgot what it's called, and I think that might need to be replaced or something. And if that's the case, that should be a standard V2 part, so that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, this lower receiver makes this gun totally just, it's sad. It has limited life. So you can expect around 3 months of use and the lower receiver will crap out on you. And that's really sad because I like everything else about it. I like the fact that it uses the MP5 mags. I love that it uses the standard controls of an M4. But unfortunately, I will not be able to continue using this gun without fixing it up once this fully gives out. My plan for this build is to eventually, probably in a few months or so, replace the lower receiver here with a standard M4 style lower receiver of a Cyma Platinum, and I'll move everything into that one. So I'll need to get a normal V2 selector plate, and then whatever little peripheral stuff along with the lower receiver. I'll drop that onto here, and then I'm gonna put a Angel Custom MP5 adapter. So hopefully once I do that, the selector switch will be standard M4 stuff, so hopefully it's reliable. And then I will still continue to use MP5 mags, and the size and everything of this thing shouldn't change too much because I do like everything else. One unfortunate thing about that is that I'm going to have a paddle mag release, which I'm not too much of a fan of. I really like this button. But yeah, so there you go. I cannot recommend the CM106. But besides that, other stuff that I have in here. This is a custom polycarbonate little handguard thing. This is the T238 Storm Tracer unit. This is a clone of a Surefire M300, I think it's called. I put a custom polycarbonate lens protector to protect the flashlight. Custom made this pressure plate mount, so pressure plate can be actuated ambidextrously. Really nice. Got the sight on a riser. And there's a brushless motor in here. This is a T238 2800 RPM, I think. 28,000 RPM. I don't know. There's a brushless motor in here. And I will say that for this build, I cannot tell, I don't feel a big difference in running brushless versus the stock Cyma Platinum motor. With precocking enabled on the MOSFET, just the standard brushed motor was so snappy. It would get warm though when I would spam the gun, but other than that, as far as snappiness goes, with precocking on, it's really close performance to this brushless thing. So I will say that the brushless upgrade for this build specifically wasn't too big of an upgrade, and that's partially because this is a 13:1 gear ratio in the gearbox, so it's already a fairly short stroke. I'm sure if you're running standard 18:1 gears, then the brushless motor would probably help a lot. But for this one specifically, I will say I did not experience a big upgrade with the brushless motor. So yeah, that is an update on this thing. Do not get the CM106.